Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, my name is Bumi Adelaye, and I have responsibility for corporate communications at Leedway. We're excited to welcome you to our first ever LinkedIn Live session in celebration and in honor of women at the workplace and in honor of International Women's Day 2021. Now, as you're all aware, the theme for the International Women's Day 2021 is choosing to challenge. And I have two lovely, amazing ladies who would be speaking with me on the theme and speaking about gender bias in the workplace. Now, um, now every day is Women's Day, okay? But the particular date of March 8th is set aside to honor all the women, to honor all women across the world, their achievements, regardless of the conditions, whether national, ethnic, linguistic, cultural, economic, or political. Time and again, women have proved their worth by excelling in every field and bringing pride, not just as leaders in the economic and political domain, but they rule in sports, they rule in education, they rule in entertainment, they rule in the government, they rule in several other categories across the world as well. Now, we believe that a challenge world is an alert world. And this is what pushed the 2021's campaign theme, Choose to Challenge. So a challenge world is an alert world. And individually, as people, men or women, we're responsible for our own thoughts and our actions all day, every day. I mean, recently there was the very controversial interview that Meghan Merkel and Prince Harry gave to Oprah. And there she's choosing to be responsible for her thoughts. She's choosing to be responsible for her actions. And she's choosing to challenge, and that is causing a whole political uproar right now in the UK. But speaking to that, I'm saying that we can all choose to challenge, call out gender bias, call out inequalities, call out racism and tribalism if we're bringing it home. We can choose to celebrate other women's achievements, and collectively we can help to create an inclusive world. Now, I'm going to give us a bit of some statistics on gender bias in the workplace. Between 2015 and 2020, we made slow but steady progress in women's representation, even though a large percentage of women couldn't scale up to managerial level. As at 2018, men held 62% of managerial positions to women's 38%, and it gets worse as you rise up. To worsen the situation, the COVID-19 pandemic is threatening to erase the gains of the past 6 years. And according to McKinsey's Women in the Workplace report of 2020, 1 in 4 women are contemplating what many would have considered unthinkable less than a year ago, downsizing their careers or leaving the workforce due to COVID-19. Women in particular have been negatively impacted. Women, especially of color, are likely to have been laid off due to the COVID crisis, stalling their careers and jeopardizing their financial security. How do we bring it home? With the COVID-19 crisis and, indeed with the economic situation, you find that a lot of families have had to make some choices, and you would find that usually it's the women that are then asked to stay back or work with the home, work with the family. And how do we choose to challenge these biases? How do we choose to challenge them at the workplace? How do we choose to challenge them at home? With me to speak about this today is the Honorable Commissioner for Education for Lagos State, Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo, and the head of Human Resources and Administration at Leedway Assurance, Mrs. Kumbi Adeoti. Before they come on, I am going to quickly give us a bit of background about these eminent personalities that will be joining us today. Mrs. Folashade Adefisayo holds a BSc honors degree from the University of Ibadan, and an MBA from the University of Lagos, and an IPGCE from the University of Nottingham, where she graduated with distinctions at both the diploma and the master level. Ms. Adefisayo is supporting the government of the state, His Excellency Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, in revolutionizing education in many uncommon ways. She has brought passion, integrity, and entrepreneurial spirit into the education sector. Before her appointment, she was an active player. She has been an active player in the education sector in Nigeria as principal consultant and CEO of Leading Learning Limited. Her areas of professional focus include teachers training, leadership training, school setup and schools transformation. She has nearly 40 years working experience spanning various industries. Ms. Adefisayo is an education activist with a passion for student learning, school transformation, and teacher training. She's deeply concerned about the learning crisis in Nigeria and has volunteered to work with the federal government and several state governments in this regard. Folashade Adefisayo is a Merit Award winner of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Introducing Mrs. Kumbi Adeoti, who holds a bachelor degree in economics and an MBA general management, both from the Obafemi Awolowo University. She's a certified professional with the Human Resources Certification Institute and a senior certified professional of the Society for Human Resources Management. Kumbi is also a member of various local professional bodies like the CIPM and the NITAD. Her interests are in general human resources, organizational development, learning, and effectiveness, as well as change management. Prior to joining Leedway Assurance as head human resources and admin as a divisional director, she was a principal partner at Talent Centrics Consultancy. She believes in excellence and has demonstrated some in the course of her HR career spanning the telco and the financial sectors. You are welcome, madam, to this platform.
Thank you, Bumi.
Awesome stuff. Now,
thank you so much.
Mrs. Adefisayo will be joining us very shortly.
She's on. She's on.
Oh, she's online.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we should just give her a few minutes to come on properly.
She's on.
Oh, she's on.
Yes.
This network. This network issue is an issue. She's on.
It says I'm in the show and everybody can see her.
Can you please speak so at least we know that you can see her?
I can see her and I can hear her.
I cannot see her, neither can I hear her.
Good afternoon, Honorable Commissioner, and we're happy to have you here.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
I cannot.
I can.
Okay, so I will take it on faith because I can't see her. No, I cannot see her. But while we're waiting for the Honorable Commissioner to come on, what are your thoughts? What are your initial thoughts? I'm sorry?
She's on. She's on. We can allow her talk.
Okay, so I just want to be sure that
I'm telling you.
Can be heard. Okay, hold on.
I'm there. I'm the lady in the with the low cut. Oh.
Just like me.
I can't hear. I can't hear.
Oh dear.
This is the terrible thing about technology. It's horrible.
Don't worry. I can hear her. She's on the call. I can see her. And the limelight is on her now. So we can allow her share her thoughts.
Okay. Just hold on a minute. This is terrible. This is terrible.
Let me let her go on.
Okay, ma'am, you can go on. I can't hear you at the moment, but as long as our listeners and viewers can hear you, that is totally fine.
Awesome.
Well,
so, ma'am, if you could just if you can hear me, can you please give us your initial thoughts on gender bias and inclusiveness in the workplace?
Well, good afternoon. I don't know whether there are any gentlemen in the house, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having me here. When you talk about bias, I think that is something that every woman who has worked has faced along the career, along your career growth in life. And my initial thoughts, of course, are that this is something that, if you allow it to get you down, can really get you down and get you into a place that you would not like to be. But there are strategies, there are ways by which you can manage bias. A lot of it is because it's societal influence. A lot of it is cultural. A lot of it is because we've even brought up our girls to believe they are inferior. Because I remember a colleague of mine, when I asked her, we were to promote two people, one of two people to be her deputy, and I said, who should it be? She said, the man, of course. The other one is a woman, and her husband will be giving her money, but the man is the one who will maintain the home. That's an irrelevant. I found that so irrelevant. That what does that have to do? What is their job performance? What do you expect of them? How are they performing on the job? And you are telling me that one gives his wife money for soup and the other one doesn't. So I totally agree that this is something that we all have to talk about, and we all have to find strategies to manage, because like it or not, as long as you're a woman in the workplace, you are going to face bias, you are going to face lack of inclusion. There are many things that are going to happen, like people are going to go to clubs and so on, and you may not be able to go, you may not want to go. People are going to have associations and friendships and relationships, and you may not want to be part of all these relationships. So therefore, all these things are going to happen. So I'm very glad that you are doing this, because I think what we have to do is to help ladies look for strategies and ways to manage through what can at times become a minefield. Thank you. So those are my initial thoughts.
Thank you.
Now, who can hear me? I'm
I
quite
can hear
nervous
you.
about.
I can hear
Okay.
you. I can hear you very clearly.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for your thoughts. Bumi, are you able to hear me?
Oh dear.
Okay. Bumi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. So she's
Okay.
giving her thoughts, and I guess I should give my thoughts as well.
Yes, please, ma'am. Please.
Okay, so it's interesting, and so of course I want to appreciate my organization for putting our foot forward, and being part of this celebration and speaking to the challenge as well at this auspicious time. It's indeed something that we really need to focus on, and like Mrs. Adefisal said, at every point in time during our career, you would face this bias one way or the other. I've had some tough experiences, particularly when I was working in telco, where it is a male-dominated field, and you've got to show what value that you bring to the table to be listened to. But much more than that, I think these are stereotypes that we created consciously or unconsciously. Men also have the biases that they go through, but you see, every day in our society, it's something that is so pervasive that if we're not talking about it, we really won't be dealing with it. And it's been long time coming. As basic as you driving on the road and somebody looks at you, oh no, it's a woman. It starts from all those little comments. And I'll give you a story. Back in secondary school, I had a principal at the time, and what she would say to us, I mean, for those who went to the same secondary school as I did at the time, she would say, women are seen, not heard. And you could imagine, for whether you did 5 years or you did 6 years, there was A levels at that time, God help you, meaning that you would have done 7 years. You would have spent 7, 8 years of your life listening to that phrase in your formative years, where you should be picking on the values that would give you the courage and the strength to run your race ahead in life. And then you hear every day, women are seen, not earn. That takes away your voice. That takes away you building capabilities and capacity on how you can add value to the community that you exist in. So it's indeed everyday thing that we've seen. And if you've had that as your normalcy, already it has battered your self-esteem, it has battered your personality, and sort of shapes your perspectives to life. Even when you have capability to do what you want to do, you believe you should not be heard, you would only be seen. And that takes me to the point where even in the society, women are objectified. And we see this being brought back into the workplace. What leads to things like sexual harassment in the first place? It's the value that we place on the women folk. I think, so that I don't even go down and delve in so much into it. Indeed, it's a great time to have this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. I think even before you went into it, you've delved into the origin of bias against women in history. I think it was very informative when you spoke about the narrative that a lot of us have heard growing up. Women are seen and not heard. I want you to speak a little more about that. How did that affect you as a woman growing into the workplace throughout your career? What were the things that subconsciously, and then you would have heard this phrase about something about it, let me describe it. It means having like a fake personality, an imposter syndrome. Yes, it's called an imposter syndrome. How did that affect you as a professional within the workplace, first of all?
Okay, so I would say that maybe before I also got into the workplace, I was able to find some bit of balance. And again, this is fundamental to the home, and maybe this is why women need to really even understand this. And I'm going to try to break it down a bit. Forgive me, I may use the local parlance, and I will try to translate. So I have a dad who is an academician, who is a professor, and who would always tell you, look me in the eye. You are trained to speak and you are trained to use your brain. So I had that on one side. I had the principal who was telling me a different story. And when I do certain things in the house, and this is not meant in any derogatory ways, we know how our mothers were back in the time. She would say, Akobi Omoman Sodo, and in direct translation, that means that firstborns are not wise, they are dons. That is another stereotype. So you find that I always have to find the balance between that three. And you see, I choose, and that is what I want to encourage everyone here. Gravitate towards that lane, that side that promotes you, that promotes your self-esteem. And I find that in what my dad used to say. That sort of gave me that balance when I got into the workplace to say, look, I am not a tramp. I'm not a second-class citizen. I have a voice. I have a brain. I am filled with capacity, and I will only be able to add value to the extent I utilize that capacity. And so when I found myself in situations that sort of provided stereotypes, remember I said that I worked in an environment that was male dominated. So the first thing is to recognize what is going on here. Is this me? Does it speak to me, or this is a stereotype? Am I being stereotyped? And when I recognize it, I then have to engage around and take feedback. Look, this is the situation, this is the circumstance. Please give me a right feedback. And that means that there has to be a level of vulnerability. Vulnerability is not necessarily weakness. It's a strength that you take in to be able to look at issue objectively so that you can rise above that particular circumstance that you're in. And so that sort of enabled me to create a thought process around those issues. And then that gave me the next level of springs that I needed in my step. And that meant addressing the issue head on. And in addressing the issue, you have to also look at the processes that are available to you. You weigh your options and say, am I ready for this? And am I ready to take it on? And for me, my character, my personality, when I see the wrong, I'll go for it and I'll address it. And that enabled me recognizing, reconciling, respecting that, okay, so this may be your perspective. It is not necessarily my reality. And I'm going to bring the reality to the fore. So that has sort of helped me to challenge the status quo. And most importantly, you've got to be courageous in the face of this situation. You need courage to run through. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kumi. Honorable Commissioner, this is for you. Now, the workplace should be a place that caters to the peculiarities of everyone. Women are usually at the, getting the shorter end of the stick. And for example, periods of days when you have a period, unless you have an understanding box, okay? Things like paternity leave and baby centers should be included to ensure that the odds are never stacked against women. Honest appraisal should focus on strength of the work and never the gender, should be encouraged. So in your opinion, how do you think the workplace can be a more inclusive place? Now, before we even go there, do you think that the workplace in Nigeria is all inclusive? Do you think so to begin with? And if not, if yes, please give us examples of how. And if not, how do you think we can be better? We can create a better or more inclusive workspace within the Nigerian space. Let's start with that.
Well, thank you again for the question. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you now, ma'am. I can hear you now.
No,
And
great. Oh, great. Oh, great. Thank you, Mrs. Adeoti. I have to thank her for that and congratulate her on having such a forward-thinking dad. You see, the workplace in Nigeria for now, let's be frank, is not inclusive at all. It's actually very difficult for women to navigate well in most workplaces because, like you said, they have, especially women who are married, who have children. How do you look after your children? How do you look after the home as well? Because no matter what we say, majority of the, I don't want to call it home care burden, the majority of the task of looking after the home, bringing up the children still rests on women in this society. And the work, so therefore, and the workplace doesn't support this at all. In many instances, leave, maternity leaves, time off to go for clinic and so on, time off to look after children, all these things make work quite difficult for women. And you therefore have to, what a lot of women have to do is to organize their personal domestic circumstances. And the workplace doesn't help them manage those personal circumstances. So I think that is a big issue. I still think for many women, I think what the workplace can do, and some workplaces, I don't want to generalize, because some workplaces are actually doing this well now. They have precious for babies, they support babies, they allow flexible work days, and like it or not, COVID has been terrible in a lot of respects, but the fact that you can do a lot of work from home has also helped a lot of mothers to be able to stay home and look after their children while also working. So I think going forward, I can see the change in the air. It's not yet perfect, but I think people are really thinking about it and how to make the workplace a more conducive environment for women. Like someone said, if you don't support women, then what are we doing to this society? 50% of the population are women. Can the remaining 50% carry the burden of the economic burden, the social burden, and so on of this society? No. So women have to also carry some of those burdens. So we've got to find a way for them to be able to carry out their tasks, all domestic and home tasks and work tasks, successfully. I think those are my own thoughts. That it's not working now, but I can see that some organizations have started thinking about how to make the workplace an effective place for women. I wish I were younger. I was having my children, I was working. Because in those days, nobody cared. And I went back to work after, it was 6 weeks before having the baby and 6 weeks after. And I went back to
Yes.
work with a brand new baby at home. And I was a banker. So I was closing late and my mind was always at home, always worried what is happening. Of course, I couldn't leave my house, my daughter with a house help. So I still think that if I'd had support from my work, I used to carry my baby every day to my mother-in-law. And in those days, there was odd and even. So I would drive very early in the morning to beat odd and even. Yeah, leave my baby with my mother-in-law, take a bus to work or taxi. I had to walk down because the house was deep inside. No taxis, nothing. Walk down to Sabo Market and from Sabo Market take a taxi to work. It was quite tedious for me. So I think organizations are doing it better. Many, not all. Thank you.
I thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. I would so I mean, I've been a Leedway for a good portion of my work life. And at the risk of sounding like I'm blowing my own trumpet, I think we live in an alternate reality, to be honest. Because honestly, I have to say, I feel like we live in an alternate reality, which because I mean we have leave days. There are times when people we even have a crash in the building in the compound, so that women can bring their children to the office. We have a gym if people need to work out. And like I said, at the risk of sounding like I'm blowing my own trumpet, there's women can take the maternity leaves when they're going and all of that. And it brings me to the question of, Commissioner, if you would allow me, do you think that the idea of gender bias is something that is exaggerated? And I'll tell you why. Now, I feel it's almost as if when you're talking about and focusing on something that is seeming the issue, you take away the strength of ownership, if you like. So, from your experience and from what you've seen, and we're going to be leaning a lot on your experience, do you think that women are not owning the responsibility of climbing? Because it's not even as if it's easy for the men per se. And I think even the mindset that there is there's a gender issue. There is something that, and permit me to play the devil's advocate here, that there is some sort of power or position tussle, between the men and the women, as opposed to you using your work and your experience to push your way through, to shatter the glass ceiling if you think there is one. Do you think that there is that like that challenge with a mindset, and it's now leaning on the crutch of gender bias, or do you think that it is still a real thing today?
Look, there is gender bias. Let's be very frank about that. And let's not just talk about having babies and looking after your babies. It's also advancement in the workplace. There is gender bias because, look, there are many places you cannot go to that men would go to, have meetings among themselves, discuss among themselves, say what they are going to do. You won't be there. And there are still people who feel that a woman in the workplace is an anathema. And there are still people who feel that women are cranky, they are difficult, maybe they're on their period, that's why they are talking like this, and so on and so forth. Let's be frank, it happens. Because you will see that what they will take from a man, they will say the woman is hysterical. If a woman is tough, hardworking, they will say she's a Margaret Thatcher, she's not feminine, she's this or that. So there is gender bias, and it is there, and there is a serious glass ceiling. It still exists, and it's still difficult for women to shatter that glass ceiling. But there are internal and external factors that cause these situations. There's the internal factor. Yes, women lack confidence. Remember what Mrs. Adeoti said about, you hear this for 7 years, someone tells you women are to be seen and not heard. There's no way it will seep into your psyche. And so at certain times in your work career, you'll be like, am I being too pushy? Tiring, they should be seen but not heard. And so should I state my point? Won't others think I'm too aggressive? So there are the internal factors, and that's because of the narrative that you continue to hear every day. Like she said, something that is hugely societal, and we have to start from our men and from home. I like Mr. Adelti, I had a father who believed that we were all equal. I was the firstborn, and he empowered me and made me know
Yeah.
that you are the person, you are the leader in this house, and you are going to lead.
Yes.
So he made,
Yes.
so that meant that all the alternative narratives that I heard, I just found them funny and strange. I found them very strange because my mother too was easygoing about women. She never felt that women should be seen and not heard. She rose to the top of her career. She was a level 17 officer, chief inspector of education. And so my father supported her all the way. So I'm very lucky in that respect. So when the other narrative came, I just didn't react to it. And so there's that internal factor that will continue to make women feel inferior. But then there are also factors that are, and women must fight that feeling. I still fight it. I still get to places where I'm like, hey, maybe I should be careful. Maybe I shouldn't talk too much. You know, I still have it because that narrative continues to resound. So for us to say that there's an exaggeration, it's not an exaggeration. It is there. It's very strong. And it will always be there as long as we have this social narrative that reinforces the belief that women are to be seen and not heard.
And not her.
I think I rest my case. I hope I've made my case clear that it is there.
Very well.
You have honorable commissioner. Kumbi, what are
Very
your thoughts?
well. So again, I mean, it's real. I'll be the first to say that. Although I must confess, Leedway has been very exceptional. Uh, it is real. What you find out is that as most people go up the ladder, I mean, I've had many things. So working with um, um, business leaders who will tell you, oh no, I don't want a woman, I don't want a woman, I can't deal with off days, I can't deal, I mean, those are serious stereotypes. um, I've had situations where, I mean, these are life experiences where meetings are set for 11 p.m. In an odd environment where it shouldn't be. And you're asking yourself, so this is deliberately done to oust you from being part of that meeting. I've had circumstances where you are in a meeting, you've made a position known, and then they just feel that, look, let's have a, and then you find out that another meeting, a meeting held after meeting, you know,
Mm,
at such things, I've had to put my feet down to say, no way, this is the process, and this is the process that we would go through. So this is real. As long as we have human beings and human beings emote, you would have these things go in different dimensions. It's just that it is more exaggerated, like I said, for women. You have to then work harder. So as a woman goes in the workplace, you need to be able to show value. For every woman that is listening to me, competence and capability are not things that you trade off. You must be able to deliver value that the organization can resonate with, such that you become the single point of contact or the go person when there are these issues. And you must be able to speak up and stand. What typically happens, like Mrs. Adefisaya said, is as women grow up, the demand from the organization becomes thick and fast. And you have to be, and if you now have a younger family, it can be at times very tough balancing the family and the work environment. If you're listening to me, you just need support structures. Determine what works for you in terms of support structures. Most often than not, you find that women just look at it and look, I can't deal with this, and then they start to fall off. If you look at organizations as they go up the middle level layer, you find less women than you have at the lower level. And that is what it speaks to. The pressure that comes and the support from the organization to be able to break through, and the capability for what you have upstairs to be listened to and to be heard, and for you to have that courage to be able to stand even in the midst of it and say, I know what I am saying, this is the way to go. uh, Women need to be able to stand up to that and that glass ceiling is real. But it's also good to know there's a consciousness even amongst the regulators right now, to start saying how many women do you have in leadership, looking at those ratios that you have. There's consciousness around organizations. Is it where it should be yet? No. But the fact that there is that consciousness, it's a journey and we will make it there if everyone chooses to stand and to challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kumbi. I'm going to read a few of the comments that we have here. Um, Yemi Ezebube says there's gender bias, especially in our country and Africa. A lot of work still needs to be done. She says she totally agrees with the commissioner. Then there is thank you, Femi. Thank you, Femi Oshinowo. Then there is we're still from Olajumoke Akimumi. She says we're still confronted with pushback daily. Yes. We must continue to stand and not be afraid to go against the grain. Trisha Inalu says competence and capability are not things to be traded with. And I want to speak to the comment that Trisha has made about competence and capabilities not being things to be traded with. So Kumbi, as you were speaking, I was hearing you say, there are a lot of things that are competing for attention. There are a lot of things that are making women shrink back. And the commissioner also said that, even for herself, even at the level that she's at in her career as an honorable commissioner of education, sometimes she gets to a place and then she feels like, should I just hold back, or should I just, maybe I shouldn't talk too much? How do we as women push against that grain, push back? How do we fight for competence and capability? How do we choose to challenge? If you are going to give me 3 top points of how women in the workplace can choose to challenge this stereotype, because the thing about it is already in your mind, because the battle is fought and won in your mind. If in your mind you are not choosing to challenge, if in your mind you're not pushing for competence and capability, like Tricia has said, you've lost the battle before you get there. So how do we as individuals choose to challenge mentally and then push that choosing to challenge outside into the workplace?
All right. Thank you, Bumi. First, Yemi Mzebube, it's good to see you online. Thank you. And I know you can relate with some of the things I'm saying. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bumi. So the critical starting point is evaluate your worth, your self-worth. That's the starting point. What do I know and what can I do? Those things are different from what people tell you. What can I do? What you can do is like the mark on the palm of your hands. It's there. It's known. You can do it. You have capability for it. Evaluate it and rate that as your self-worth, and take that and internalize that. Internalize that. Until you internalize it and it grows, it's only then can it diminish all the other voices that you hear. That's the starting point, really. You must be able to know your self-worth and then speak against that voice that is speaking contrary to where you are going. It's a voice. You also have a voice. You must be able to drown it. And you drown it by looking at your self-worth, looking back at the things that you have been able to achieve, and charging yourself for the things that are ahead. Understand your total capital. In organizations, we say human capital. Your individual capital. What are you worth? And until you are able to put value to that, only then do you arise from that besetting voice, and then you put springs in your feet, and you're ready to go.
Thank you very much, Kubi. Honorable Commissioner, what are your thoughts? Because you have a lot of experience as an educationist. You have a lot of passion for just training in general and making and allowing people, giving people the permission to be their best self. So, what would you say to this point? How would you speak to this? How do we as women choose to challenge, whether it's at home, at the workplace, wherever it is that we find ourselves, and speaking to this negative self-talk, the imposter syndrome? How do we deal with it?
Thank you very much. That's why the tagline, choose to challenge, is really wonderful. It's really important because it's a choice that you have to make. Society tells you this, people tell you this and that, but you've got to make the choice and make the decision. It really, like Mr. Adeoti said, it's in your hands and you've got to make that decision. So first of all, there's this internal factor. Yes, it's my decision. And that's why I think there are some things that I've taken out of all this and I'd like to share. First of all, you must have a vision for yourself. People talk about it like vision. Yes, it looks like it's a mundane, common, language that people just say. But yes, if you have a vision, like I will tell you, before I became Commissioner for Education, I was an education activist. I told you I was a banker long ago. And from banking, I didn't really enjoy the job, but I put in my best because I felt I've always tried to do my best and I've always risen as high as I can, as possible. So when I left banking, I went into teaching bankers, first of all, about general principles of banking. But when I got into education, I found that this is a very critical field and I became an activist in it. And my vision, I still went back to look at it and it said something like, I want to influence the education sector in Nigeria. And I'm somebody who knows what influence can I have? There are two, according to Stephen Covey, that we operate within two circles. There's the circle of concern and the circle of influence. All the things in the circle of concern are the things that concern you, NEPA, bad roads, blah, 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 people are nasty. You can't control other people's behavior. But what you can control is what is within your circle of influence. That is who you are, your competence level, your capability, your vision for yourself, your personal development. And this is where I think I focused most of my effort. Now, if you stay within your circle of influence, what happens is that it grows, it goes boom. And your circle of influence can almost reach your circle of concern. So by focusing on my circle of influence, you see, I tried to, first of all, I did the PGC, which you didn't understand. The postgrad is an international postgraduate certificate of education. So I did that to certify myself so that I had the theoretical backing as an educationist because I had an MBA, I was a banker. So now I went for the PGC at grand old age and did a master's in it as well. And like I said, I came out with distinctions at both levels to the surprise and chagrin of some of my classmates who wondered, Mama, can you even use a computer and stuff like that, which is very strange to me, because I've been using computer for years. So you have to have that vision. What do you want to do? And then the courage. This word keeps coming up. Mr. Adeoti said this. Some of you alluded to it in your comments. You have to be courageous because this thing takes the blood out of you. It's easier to fall for the narrative and just sink, just accept that this is, well, I'm a woman, what can I do? It's easier, but it's harder to be courageous and say, no, I'm going for it. I can and should and will be more than this. And don't play with your competence and capability. Don't play with, if anybody says anything about you, they should know that you know what you're about. You're a professional to the core. Don't play with it at all. Don't play with it. Don't let people say, it saddens me. I went to, when I was a consultant, I worked in a school and I had to observe their teachers. I noticed something about the women. It was very difficult to have a cerebral conversation with them. You can only talk about clothes and stoning and latest gilly. But you could not talk about how to improve their teaching because they had settled into this comfort zone and they were not growing and learning. So when we talk about competence and capability, you must continue growing and learning. And let me tell you, even now I have a coach. She talks to me. She's given me a lot of ideas, a lot of training and understanding about my own personal growth, even as a commissioner. Remember, I had never worked in public service. Remember, I was not a politician. So I'd never gone to any political meeting. I don't know anything about politics. And so it looked like I was thrown in at the deep end. All sorts of things were expected. I thought I was coming a commissioner, work on education, look at the problems there. I'm a technocrat, but I find that I have to look at the political angle, the governance angle, stakeholders. I have to manage so many people. I have to learn all this. I got a coach, and she's still coaching me. Thanks to Lagos State Government, he got me a coach. Asked me if I wanted, asked all of us, and I said, look, I may be this age, I may not be a young woman and all that, but I don't know this thing. So humility is there, and get yourself a mentor as well. So I think it's very important that we as women understand that we can rise out of this thing. We can get to the very top. It is, but it's an internal thing. Society is not going to help. The men around are not going to give you a chance. Don't rely on them. You've got to be the one that's got to be the courage to say, I'm going to be whatever I want to be. I thank you very much. I am sorry I have another meeting and I have to leave in a few minutes.
Oh, no problem, madam. I think, do you have any beyond all that you have said? And I've taken quite some notes. And I think as you were speaking, some of the things that came to me was that this isn't just conversation for the women. These are truths for anybody who wants to excel at something at the workplace or generally in life. Get a coach, get out of your comfort zone. You need to have a vision for yourself. You need to choose your area of influence, and you need to choose to expand that area of influence if you want to make a difference in the world. Sorry, Kumbi, before the Honorable Commissioner has to leave us, I was wondering if you have a few last words for her before we go to our last question and then we move.
Oh no, I just want to say a huge thank you. We are honored to have you here today. You've hit the punchlines, and using the language of the moment. You not only not only were you shaking the tables, you broke the legs as well. Thank you so much. And this works really, like Umi said, it's for everyday life. It's not just even about women. Absolutely. I mean, if growth is ever going to occur anywhere, growth only occurs when we step out of our comfort zone. And those are keywords. What are those things, these stereotypes, these biases that we have become comfortable with? As if we're going to grow as a family, as an organization, and as a nation, then we need to step out of the comfort zone of all the biases that has held us down. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, I was going to ask. Okay. Go on, ma'am. You were saying?
I will leave, but my last word was to talk to us women, as women, as mothers. Sometimes these fallacies and assumptions and so on arise from us. They start from us. We are the ones. We are the ones bringing up our boys. And letting them feel a sense of superiority over our daughters. Like a friend of mine, her mother used to say, when she was teaching her sons to cook, and people said, why are you letting this boy cook? She said, what do you cook? You cook with your hands. Boys and girls have hands. And so he too should do what the girls are doing in the house. So I just want to urge us I have a grown son. I have a grown son who is about 35. So, and I think I brought him up always to know that, to value the women in his life. He has 2 sisters, and he values them, to value the sisters in his life, to value the women in his life. Never ever to look at a woman and objectify her, or look at a woman and think that you are superior to her in some way. You can have a superior argument, superior discussions, but never ever look at her and assume based on gender. So I think it's up to us mothers. Please bring up your boys to be feminists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is amazing. That is amazing. And it's interesting that you spoke to that, ma'am, because I mean, we have the conversations in the office all the time about, okay, there's gender bias and all of that, but who brings the men into the world? The women. Who raises them? The women and the men. In fact, a lot of men are very close to their moms, and they're the ones that have a very strong influence in the lives of the men. So how? So maybe the question should even come back to us: how are you raising your sons, the future men? How are you raising them? Because it starts with them, with you raising them as gentlemen, with you raising them to respect the women, with you raising them with values, with a system of values that helps them to become the men that you want them to be. You cannot raise them like, for instance, my mom raised all of us to cook. My mom raised all of us to clean house and all of that. You know, anyhow you cook that beans, that's how we are going to eat it that day. If the pepper is on one side, the palm oil is on one side, the water is in the middle, the oil is on the top, that is how we are going to eat it, so that everybody learned how to cook. So it wasn't just about us, about the only the ladies and all of that. But
Good, yeah.
you made a very, very valid point. I'm so tempted to keep you because we need to hear so much more from you. But while I appreciate your time, I want to quickly scroll up to a comment that we may have missed. Kumbi, this question was for you, and I think it makes sense even as we speak about the role of the the mothers in raising their children, and even the role of us as we grow up and
Yeah.
understanding self-awareness and vulnerability. The question was from Olayinka Fadiran, and she says, "How can one draw a line between vulnerability and self-awareness? For example, what people say and what you know is true about yourself. How did you draw that line, and how do you speak up for yourself, essentially?"
Okay. So in vulnerability, there is always the truth to the situation. There is always the truth to the situation. The difference is that you are emotional about that situation, but you need to gain strength to arise from that situation. And in that circumstance, you speak out to the people who are around you to say, I am in this situation, I need help. You are moving from a position of shame to say, I am in a position where I need help this moment, because you are not a racetrack that goes smooth.
Hmm.
Life has its meandering. We will have our ups and we will have our downs. There will be the
Absolutely.
truth that you know, but at that moment when you are going through circumstance, because we're emotional beings, that truth may not be real to you at that moment. And in
Hmm.
that time is when you reach out in that vulnerability to the people who are around you that you trust to say, here I am. This is what I am going through. Hold my hand. And in that circumstance, your hands are held. And with that, you are able to receive strength to arise from that situation. Self awareness comes around you separating your emotions from all the situation and circumstance. And that enables you to also trudge ahead and be able to think through in in that situation. But in fact, the foundation of it will be to be self-aware, because now we are looking at it. This is my emotion. This is how I feel. But how do I get out of here? That is the bedrock of self-awareness. Then you move to that, accepting that vulnerability, that I am open to you. This is my
Hmm.
truth. Help me to go through this situation. That doesn't make you a weak person. No, actually you are strong to be able to accept that I need help in this time, and you receive that help and you come out a better person for it, rather than he that is down needs fear no fall, and you're forever down and nothing is happening to you in that position of down.
I hear you, Kumbi, and I hear you loud and clear. And it is about being able to be vocal about the things that you need, about the help that you need, and making it okay, agreeing with yourself that it's okay for you to ask for help without feeling like it will be used against you, or that, oh, this is about, okay, she's being emotional again, she's being just a woman, and all of that. Speak up and ask for help. It is what people do if they want to move forward in life. I was going to go into positioning for greatness. Babalola Abdul Rashid has said self awareness is a starting point. If you think you can, you really hold on. Let me just yeah. Hold on. I For some reason it went up. If you think you can, really you can. And if you think you can't, then you're right. It is in your hands. That is
Spot on.
absolutely correct. It's absolutely spot on. It begins
Spot
and
on.
starts with the mindset. And he's also said women should stick to having a growth mindset. And really, that comment is really for everyone. If you want to advance and better yourself, you need to always have a growth mindset. You need to get uncomfortable with being comfortable. That's the only way that we can advance. We are 3 minutes past the time for this. Kumbi, any last words?
Okay, thank you, Bumi. And thank you to our audience. I've had a fabulous time. I wish we had more time to take this. And indeed, I'm saying to each and every one of us, because these biases, these stereotypes, we need to start asking questions. Yes, maybe it starts with the women. When you tell your boy child, men don't cry. Why? Why do you have the tear duct
Yeah.
in the first place? You know, and no, we can't do this. No, you can't do that. Self-talk against that self-talk. And I leave you with one thing today. We can't be comfortable in that zone that has kept us down. If we are going to rise, it's up to you and I, and we really have to get uncomfortable in that zone. Growth only occurs when we move to the zone that we're not comfortable. Don't forget, don't trade competence. Don't trade capability. Evaluate yourself. What do you have? And in that, you know you are a person of worth. You are a human being. You are not crossing the earth as just another object. You are here for a purpose. Find out your vision, find out your goal, and live it. Leave the world a better place than you met it by living that goal, giving what you have to make a difference to everyone, not only in the workplace, at home, in the society, in the community, everywhere you find yourself. Come on, make that difference. Choose to challenge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kumbi. I think the takeaway for me is that this nuggets of that have been shared by yourself and by the Honorable Commissioner are not just for women, but for everyone who wants to succeed in life, who wants to be better than they are, who want to rise above what is normal. And with that being said, we've come to the end of our LinkedIn live session. We have a new baby that had just been added to the Leedway team. We're very excited to tell you about Leedway Health. And we have a short video that we're going to play now to tell you what it is about, and that would officially bring our session to a close. Thank you very much, everyone, and please enjoy the talk about Leedway Health.
Thank
Do you
you.
need a healthcare
Thank
plan
you.
that listens to you? Be assured, we've got you. For us, as always, this is about impacting lives. And to launch our journey into this exciting ground, we created Leedway Health as the partner you need. Leedway Health adds new dimensions to health insurance as you know it. The services are flexible and mobile. Now, let's talk about the plans. The Leedway Group Health Plan targets macro enterprises, corporates such as local and multinational companies, agencies, and other bodies. Take, for example, Rockwell Company, whose HR representative, Musa, wastes a big part of his work hours sorting billing issues. The Leedway Group Health Plan stops that and will ensure Musa, and by extension, Rockwell Company, will no longer have to worry about mix-ups and long conflict resolutions. Most of our health insurance plans come with baby wellness programs and multi-trip travel insurance with COVID-19 cover. In addition, we offer free employee assistance programs to keep employees out of the hospital. This includes added benefits that cover psychological consultations for insomnia, depression, and other conditions relating to mental wellness. This gesture also extends to free psychological evaluations during recruitment. Our onboarding process is seamless and stress-free for you to opt in, so you can keep track of your health and insurance status.
For more information and questions, call 01-280-1051 or visit our website at www.leedway.com. You can also send us an email at healthcare@leedway.com.
Invest in the peace of mind you deserve today, only with Leedway Health.
Thank you all for joining our live session this afternoon. We wish you an amazing 2021. Please feel free to call us, reach out to us for any and all of your insurance needs. We'll be having a lot more of these sharing sessions, with you to share our thoughts about different topical issues and also to just share information about our businesses, about insurance, and about how we can support you to live your best life. Thank you once again for joining us. Have a great afternoon.